I want to start by reading from 2 Kings chapter 5. I'm not sure I won't be able to read the whole chapter, but um, it's a story of Naaman. Naaman was a commander in the Syrian army, and he had leprosy and he wanted to be healed. And he had a young woman who was working for his wife who was from Israel. And the lady told her boss, Naaman's wife, that there's a prophet in Israel who can heal you. And so what's interesting now in verse, and I'll tell you why it's relevant, verse 5, he says, let me go to the king. Note the king. He was told about a prophet, but he said no, he went for the king. So he sends 30 pieces of silver, 6,000 pieces of gold, 10 changes of fine clothes. And he says, this is to introduce my officer. I want you to cure him of his disease. So the king of Israel panics when he receives his letter because he's like, I don't know how to heal people. And then Elisha, who the prophet, tells him, oh, don't worry. You send him over to me. We will show them that there's a prophet in Israel. I like that arrogance. It's an arrogance of knowledge, pride, and he's proud that he has something that he can do. So Naaman is sent to Elisha. And then Elisha, still quite arrogant, he doesn't go to meet Naaman. He sends a servant to go and tell Naaman, go and tell Naaman to wash in the river Jordan. And Naaman gets so angry because he's like, who are you for you to come and send somebody to me and you can't even come out? And then on top of that, you're telling me to go and wash in the rivers of Israel, as if we have no rivers. And then this is what the servants say. Maybe this is now where I should read. Verse 13. His servants went up to him and said, Sir, if the prophet had told you to do something difficult, you would have done it. Now, why can't you just wash yourself, as he said, and be cured? And so Naaman went down to the Jordan, dipped himself in it 7 times as Elisha had instructed, and he was completely cured. His flesh became firm and healthy like that of a child. Now, why am I telling this story? You are here in the university for knowledge. And one of the things that I have found very strange about university people is that they find it very hard to deal with very simple knowledge. They want very complicated things like Naaman. They want PowerPoints, they want grants, they want big degrees, they want, very many big things, when actually what needs to be done or what needs to be thought about is really very simple. And usually a lot of these simple things can solve a lot of problems. But we here, especially in the academy, we want to use big words, big research ninis, and sometimes the solutions that people need are really very simple. And this was what I was saying last time when I was telling you about ChatGPT. Yeah? I thought I had communicated to the students, what I want you to do is to learn how to write. So put your fingers on the keyboard, have an idea, write about it. But it seemed so simple. It was just too simple. They were like, no, madam can't really want to know what I think. It must be very complicated, And so they go looking for very big words, very big papers, and give me a very out there thing when all I wanted to know was, what do you think about this? And that's how it seems that we have started, we treat knowledge that way, like it's something big there, gold, silver, new clothes, big rivers. And all we are being asked to do is to think very simply. But I want to finish off with the story. So Naaman gets well. He goes to Elisha, and Elisha says, then he tells Elisha, give with gifts. And Elisha says, no, that's not what I want. It's okay. And Naaman is confused. He's like, but how? I mean, look at what you've done for me. Um, and then Elisha just tells him, verse 19, go in peace. And uh, and Naaman leaves. Again, there's a misunderstanding from Naaman. Not only is he thinking big power, bureaucracy, material, but he's also thinking that I have to pay you. And what Elisha was doing was out of generosity, not just the generosity of his own heart, but what was Elisha's goal? It was to show that there is a prophet, that Israel serves a God who can heal. That's all. So when he's being offered material things, Elisha says, no, I don't want that. But as now Naaman goes, Elisha's servant says, Aye, how is it that my master has let Naaman go away without paying a thing? I will run after him. This is typical Kenya corruption. He runs after him and says, my master sent me to tell you just how now two members of the group of prophets in the hill country of Ephraim arrived, and he would like you to give them 3,000 pieces of silver and 2 changes of fine clothes. And then Naaman, because his mind has not been transformed, he's still thinking materialist, in the materialist way. He says, of course, in fact, take double what you're asking for. And he gives the servant double. And then the servant goes back to Elisha towards the end of the chapter. And Elisha asks him, where have you been? The servant says, oh, nowhere. Ha! He's lying. So this is the second time he has lied. So you can see what happens. Once you lie once, you have to lie again to cover up the last lie. So Elisha says, wasn't I there in spirit when the man got out of his chariot to meet you? This is no time to accept money and clothes, olive groves and vineyards, sheep and cattle or servants. And now Naaman's disease will be upon you, and you and your descendants will have it forever. And when Gehazi, the servant, left, he had the disease. So this disease is not just the fact that his skin was now infected. It's that Gehazi had the mind of Naaman. He was looking at knowledge as something that should give you material rewards. And yet when Elisha is using his knowledge, his spiritual powers, he's doing it out of the generosity of a human being to another without expecting any payment. This is the strange land I was telling you about 2 weeks ago, that knowledge in Kenya has become something to trade with. That's why when you tell students to do very small things, they can't believe that you're asking for something very small. Other times they can't believe that you're doing it out of generosity. They think, no, there must be a catch somewhere. You must want some payment somewhere. And they behave like Naaman and say, no, you can't be asking me for something very simple. But yes, I am. I'm asking for very simple things. So this is related to knowledge because Kenya has complicated and corrupted knowledge so much that we can't think straight. We can't think about simple things. And even if when people give out of the generosity of their hearts, we don't know how to understand that. We say, no, let me pay you, because that's what we understand. And when we don't pay, we use that for corruption. And later on in the semester, I'm going to show you how far corrupt research can go. When people don't want to study for the generosity of society, for the generosity of making people well, for the generosity of helping people think differently about things, then we are told, no, let's pay you. There must be a price. And I'm not talking about work. There are times when if I do the work, I need to be paid for the work that I do because I need to live. But there are times when some of us, especially when we comment in the public, we are doing it out of generosity because we want Kenya to improve. And just this week, people have been telling me, I don't know, because we cannot be human beings if we don't know things and know them without any strings attached. know them so that we can improve ourselves and so that we can be generous to one another, which was what Elisha was doing. That's a world that has become very rare in Kenya. But I am, like I said, I'm singing a song in a strange land. I will keep on singing the song that we must study. We must study because we want to be generous to our people. Our people are suffering. We are being bombarded with questions and issues that we barely understand. And the people who have the opportunity to study are taking shortcuts, bribing other people to do the work for them. And in the end, what happens is that the disease continues, like you see in the Bible.